can you see it? Streaming the truth live from where they decree it. Sylvia speaks, no filter, no buffer. Courtroom drama couldn't get any tougher.
When the gavel's first bang, to the witness stands tears. Sylvia's lens captures all your hopes and fears. Uploading justice one trial at a time. Tune in every moment, edges sublime.
Welcome to the Sylvia Show, oh yeah. She's got the inside scoop, don't you care? With every verdict, the suspense does grow. So hit subscribe, let's start the show. Welcome to the Sylvia Show, oh yeah. She's got the inside scoop, don't you care? With every verdict, the suspense does grow. So hit subscribe, let's start the show. Faces tell stories, the courtroom can't hide. Sylvia's insights cut through the divide. From jury talks to the lawyer's secret. In Sylvia's world, you know you'll need it. Behind the scenes where whispers are loud, her lens reveals the truth in the crowd. Courtroom secrets laid bare to see. Stay curious with Sylvia Spree. Every objection, every sharp retort, Sylvia's there to give you the report. Exclusive footage no one else can snag. From catchy headlines straight to the tag. Welcome to the Sylvia Show, oh yeah. She's got the inside scoop, don't you care? With every verdict, the suspense does grow. So hit subscribe, let's start the show. Welcome to the Sylvia Show, oh yeah. She's got the inside scoop, don't you care? With every verdict, the suspense does grow. So hit subscribe, let's start the show.
Faces tell.
Hey guys, hey everybody. How are you guys doing? And y'all, I still have my hat on because I'm waiting on Dallas to color my hair. She hasn't colored my hair yet. And like the cut part is all gray, and then at the top I have all the colors. So we're just gonna wear this hat right now. This is the fashionable, so I put my earrings on. Remember my new earrings that I got? I put the earrings on so I can look fashionable. All right, you guys know that I am not one that do politics. I'm not into politics. So when someone reached out to me, say, Sylvia, can you please cover this? Can you please cover the Venezuela situation? I'm like, ugh, I don't know, because I don't know much about it. I'm like, Sylvia, please, we would like to see, your input on it. And so I reached out to some of my peeps in the news people, right? The news folks, and they are all over it. They are all over it. We're just having conversation, and I'm on part of their little chat room, and we're part of it. And I hear that tomorrow is actually when they're going to have his first arraignment, him and his wife. And guess what? Going to be in the same courtroom that Diddy's trial was at, 26A. So it's going to be in the same courtroom that we were in during the Diddy trial. And the other thing I found out, it's going to be tomorrow at 12 o'clock for Maduro. That's how you say his name, right? Maduro, right? Maduro. I don't know how to say the man's name, but it's going to be tomorrow at 12 o'clock, and they're going to do that lineup at 7:45, and so it's in that courtroom. But here's the twist to this. The judge that they have on this case, he's a 92-year-old judge. And according to some of the things I was reading in our little chat thing, right? That judge is looking to, well, they're looking for a motion to dismiss the case because it's being said that it was out of order. This is just allegedly. This is based on what they're texting me on what's going on and stuff like that. One thing, Maduro was not the legitimate president of Venezuela. And other thing, okay, hold on. He was not the legitimate president of Venezuela. And the other thing is he was fixing to let China or Russia come in to fix the oil situation in Venezuela. Oil is all over the streets and lake. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that, 411, because you know what? I'm just getting into it, so I really don't know much of it, but I'm trying to oblige to my folks who wanted me to cover it, and they said to cover this too. But you know what? I can't do any better. I can't do any better. So what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna play some clippings for you guys and kind of give you a little bit, because I know some of you guys have already watched the news, the press, right? The press release and the all that is correct. He's not the legitimate president. He refused to pass power on peacefully. Oh, okay. Like I told you guys, I am clueless. So whatever you guys are saying, please give out the right information, because I can't verify it right now because I don't know. Congress did not approve of the attack. I knew that part. I know they have a separation and one side is saying yes and the other side is saying no. I know that part, okay? And I know a lot of people are in the streets protesting about this whole situation, okay? I know that. I know that much of it, right? But, and then I know about the drug cartel and things like that. I did pull the indictment. I have that piece of paper right here. The indictment is right here. Hold on a second. I did pull that, so I want to have some documents. I have that. I did do that now. I'm not that much off, right? I'm not that much off. But as far as the details of everything, I do not have a clue, okay? I don't have the clue on it, okay? So let me go ahead on and play some of the stuff that is being talked about in the news. Congress cannot be involved in everything. They don't know how to keep their mouth shut. They knew he was indicted for years. Okay. All right. Marco Rubio did say, everyone go read the indictment so you're doing right. Thank you, Tank, because I don't know. I am one to tell you I don't have a clue, and I'm not going to sit here and try to get numbers in because trying to make up stuff, I'm not going to do that, right? So I'm going to let the folks that have not heard anything to look at some of these people talking about it. So let's go ahead and watch the first video that I pulled up. It's a short video. I'm trying to pull up the short videos.
The operation that resulted in the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro by United States is a masterclass in surgical warfare, executed with overwhelming speed and precision. The primary unit responsible for the raid was the Army's 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment, Delta, commonly known as Delta Force. These operators are the Tier 1 asset the United States calls upon for its most critical counterterrorism and hostage rescue missions. While Delta Force conducted the ground assault, they did not act alone. The operation relied heavily on the specialized aviation support of the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, known as the Night Stalkers. These pilots are trained to fly low and fast in complete darkness using advanced night vision technology to insert teams into hostile urban environments undetected. The entire force package was supported by the massive naval presence of the USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group, which had been positioned in the Caribbean for months to enforce a blockade and monitor Venezuelan airspace. Flying at treetop level to avoid radar detection, a flight of MH-47G Chinooks and MH-60 Black Hawks pierced the Venezuelan coast. These were not standard military aircraft. They were highly modified platforms flown by the Night Stalkers, pilots trained to operate in zero visibility conditions. The MH-60s, specifically the direct action penetrator variants, served as the muscle of the convoy. Armed with M134 miniguns and rockets, these flying tanks provided a protective bubble around the larger Chinooks, ready to shred any ground resistance that threatened the mission. The Delta Force Assault Team rode inside the heavy-lift MH-47G Chinooks. These massive helicopters are the workhorses of special operations, capable of carrying fully equipped assault teams and, crucially, hauling them out quickly. As the diversionary airstrikes continued to pull Venezuelan security forces toward the military bases, the Chinooks flared into a hover over the target residence. The noise of the rotors was likely masked by the chaos of the ongoing explosions across the city. The execution of the mission began long before the first boot hit the ground. For weeks, U.S. electronic warfare aircraft, specifically EA-18G Growlers, had been jamming Venezuelan radar and communications, blinding the regime's defensive networks. On the night of the raid, this electronic silence turned into kinetic chaos. At exactly 2 o'clock local time, the operation kicked off with a series of massive coordinated diversionary strikes. Explosions rocked key military sites across Caracas, specifically targeting the La Carlota military airbase and the Fuerte Tiuna military complex. These strikes were not random, they were calculated to create panic and confusion within the Venezuelan military high command. By hitting the airbase and the military headquarters simultaneously, U.S. forces forced the local regime to focus its attention and rapid reaction forces on defending these high-profile locations. This left the actual target, the residence where Maduro and his wife Cilia Flores were staying, vulnerable and exposed. While Venezuelan soldiers scrambled to respond to the burning airbase, the real attack was happening elsewhere in the city. Under the cover of this chaos and the deafening noise of the explosions, the Night Stalkers flew their helicopters at rooftop level, navigating the complex urban terrain of Caracas. They delivered the Delta Force Assault Team directly to the target, utilizing the element of surprise to overwhelm the president's personal security detail. The firefight was intense but brief. Delta Force operators are trained for close-quarter battle, CQB, a method of fighting inside buildings that prioritizes speed and violence of action to neutralize threats before they can react. Crucially, the mission mandate was to capture, not kill. The United States intended to bring Maduro to face trial for narco-terrorism charges, meaning the team had to secure him alive amidst the gunfire. Once Maduro and Flores were positively identified and detained, the operation immediately shifted to the extraction phase. There was no time to linger. The assault team and their high-value prisoners boarded the waiting helicopters and lifted off. The entire ground phase of the operation lasted only minutes. Before the Venezuelan military could realize what had happened or scramble jets to intercept, the US helicopters had already cleared the city limits, ferrying the captives to a secure location outside of Venezuelan airspace. The speed of the withdrawal was absolute. By the time Vice President Delcy Rodriguez issued a statement demanding proof of life, Maduro was already in US custody, flown out to face the American judicial system. The operation proved that even in a heavily defended capital city, a precise and well-coordinated force could strike the head of state and vanish before the dust had settled.
Interesting. Wow. That was really interesting on that one. Okay. All right. I'm impressed. I'm impressed in how U.S. was able to do that. Okay. I was impressed. Okay. Without major casualties. That was impressive, y'all. All right, hold on. Let's look at what Rubio has to say. All right, here's the press. Meet the press. He was talking about the situation.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Secretary Rubio, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I want to start with this big picture question. Is the United States now at war with Venezuela?
There's not a war. I mean, we are at war against drug trafficking organizations. It's not a war against Venezuela. We are enforcing American laws with regards to oil sanctions. We have sanctioned entities. We go to court. We get a warrant. We seize those boats with oil, and that will continue. We will continue to reserve the right to take strikes against drug boats that are bringing drugs towards the United States that are being operated by transnational criminal organizations, including the Cartel de los Soles. Of course, the leader of that cartel is now in U.S. custody and facing U.S. justice in the Southern District of New York, and that's Nicolas Maduro. So we made a big progress in that regard.
Mr. Secretary, who is in charge? Are you running Venezuela right now?
Yeah, I mean, I keep people, fixating on that. Here's the bottom line on it is we expect to see changes in Venezuela. Changes of all kinds, long-term, short-term. We'd love to see all kinds of changes, but the most immediate changes are the ones that are in the national interest of the United States. That's why we're involved here, because of how it applies and has a direct impact on the United States. Okay, we are not going to be able to allow in our hemisphere a country that becomes a crossroads for the activities of all of our adversaries around the world. We just can't allow it. We can't have a country where the people in charge of its military and in charge of its police department are openly cooperating with drug trafficking organizations. We're not going to allow that. These things are direct threats to the United States. And we intend to use every element of leverage that we have to ensure that that changes. The one I would point everyone to is that our military is helping the Coast Guard conduct a law enforcement function, which is not just the capture of Maduro, but the enforcement of our sanctions. We go to court, we get a warrant, we seize the boats. And we think this is tremendous leverage, incredible, crippling leverage, which we intend to continue to use until we see the changes that we need to see that are benefit to the American people. And by the way, we believe to the people of Venezuela as well.
But Mr. Secretary, I think there's a lot of questions about who the point people are during this transition. President Trump said, we're going to run the country. So is it you? Is it Secretary Hegseth? Who are those people who will be running the country specifically?
Well, it's not running, it's running policy. The policy with regards to this, we want Venezuela to move in a certain direction because not only do we think it's good for the people of Venezuela, it's in our national interest. It either touches on something that's a threat to our national security or touches on something that's either beneficial or harmful.
And are you involved in that transition,
and so obviously
Secretary?
I'm very involved in this. Well, of course. I mean, I think everyone knows I'm pretty involved on politics in this hemisphere. Obviously, as Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, very involved in all these elements. The Department of War plays a very important role here, along with the Department of Justice, for example, because they're the ones that have to go to court. So this is a team effort by the entire national security apparatus of our country, but it is running this policy. And the goal of the policy is to see changes in Venezuela that are beneficial to the United States, first and foremost, because that's who we work for, but also, we believe, beneficial for the people of Venezuela, who have suffered tremendously. We want a better future for Venezuela, and we think a better future for the people of Venezuela also is stabilizing for the region and makes the neighborhood we live in a much better and safer place.
President Trump said the administration is working with Maduro's Vice President, Delcy Rodriguez. Why does the administration oppose working with the opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado? She's the Nobel Peace Prize winner, of course, as well. Her coalition has the support of 70% of Venezuelans. Why not work with her?
Well, a couple things. First of all, Maria Corina Machado is fantastic, and she's someone I've known for a very long time, and that whole movement is. But we are dealing with the immediate reality. The immediate reality is that, unfortunately, and sadly, but unfortunately, the vast majority of the opposition is no longer present inside of Venezuela. We have short-term things that have to be addressed right away. We all wish to see a bright future for Venezuela, a transition to democracy. All of these things are great, and we all want to see that. I've worked on that for 15 years on a personal level, both in the Senate and now as National Security Advisor and Secretary of State. These are things I still care about, we still care about. But what we're talking about is what happens over the next 2-3 weeks, 2-3 months, and how that ties to the national interest of the United States. And so we expect to see more compliance and cooperation than we were previously receiving. With Nicolas Maduro, you could not make a deal or an arrangement. Although he, by the way, was given very generous offers. He could have left Venezuela as recently as a week and a half ago. There were opportunities available for him to avoid all of this because he's not someone we can work with. He suckered the Biden administration into stupid deals. He's made a career out of not keeping deals and figuring out how to save himself by buying time. And President Trump was not going to fall into that trap. So now there are other people in charge of the military and police apparatus there. They're going to have to decide now what direction they want to go. And we hope they will choose a different direction than the one Nicolas Maduro picked. Ultimately, we hope this leads to a holistic transition all the way around in Venezuela, societal, political, all of that. We're in favor of all of that. But right now, we have to take the first steps. And the first steps are securing what's in the national interest of the United States and also beneficial to the people of Venezuela. And those are the things that we're focused on right now. No more drug trafficking, no more Iran, Hezbollah presence there, and no more using the oil industry to enrich all our adversaries around the world. and not benefiting the people of Venezuela, or frankly, benefiting the United States and the region.
You talk about a holistic transition. I think there's a lot of focus on potential elections. How soon will elections be held? Within 30 days, Mr. Secretary?
Elections? Well, look, this is a country that's been governed by this regime now for 14 or 15 years. The elections should have happened a long time ago. The elections did happen. They lost them, and they didn't count the votes, or they refused to count the votes, and everyone knows it. So all of that, I think, is premature at this point. There's a lot of work to be done here. Right now, what we are focused in, let's be realistic here, what we are focused on right now is all of the problems we had with when Maduro was there. We still have those problems in terms of them needing to be addressed. We are going to give people an opportunity to address those challenges and those problems. Until they address it, they will continue to face this oil quarantine. They will continue to face pressure from the United States. We will continue to target drug boats if they try to run towards the United States. We will continue to seize the boats that are sanctioned with court orders. We will continue to do that, and potentially other things, until the things we need to see addressed are addressed. Because ultimately, above everything else, we care about elections, we care about democracy, we care about all of that. But the number one thing we care about is the safety, security, well-being, and prosperity of the United States. And that's what we're going to focus on first and foremost here. And that's what these policies, these changes we need to see made are about.
Okay, significant there. You say you will continue to seize boats when necessary. I want to ask you about boots on the ground. A lot of attention on that. The president was asked about the possibility of U.S. boots on the ground. He said, quote, "We're not afraid of it." How many U.S. forces are on the ground right now in Venezuela? Are there any?
We don't have U.S. forces on the ground in Venezuela. No, we don't have U.S. forces on the ground. Everyone knows. They were on the ground for about 2 hours when they went to capture Maduro. And I think what the president is saying is very simple, and that is, as president of the United States, he is not going to go around telling people what he's not going to do. He's not going to go around saying, I won't do this, I won't do that. Yes, I care about this issue, but I'll only go so far. He retains all this optionality. In the particular case you're citing, this was, in essence, at its core, a law enforcement function. Okay, the Department of Justice, dating back in the Biden administration, that had a $25 million reward for his capture. So we have a reward for his capture, but we're not going to enforce it. That's the difference between President Trump and everybody else. All these, it's easy to make a wanted poster and say $50 million for the capture of Maduro, but no one takes that seriously because you're not going to do anything about it. President Trump did something about it.
Let me ask you.
He did something about it. We went in, we grabbed him, he was arrested, and he's now in New York. No Americans were killed, no equipment was lost. It had to be done, and it's been done. And I assure you, the people left behind in Venezuela now that are in charge of the police and everything else, I assure you, they're going to probably be a lot more compliant than Maduro was as a result of this.
Well, President Trump told the New York Post there won't be troops in Venezuela as long as Delcy Rodriguez, quote, does what we want. She's already, though, demanding the release of Nicolas Maduro. As you know, she's insisting that her country never become a colony. What exactly does Rodriguez need to do to keep U.S. troops out of Venezuela?
Well, forget about the U.S. troops portion of it. What needs to happen for any of this to change, for our relations with Venezuela to change and our whole approach to it to change, the things we have talked about are the ones I've highlighted already. You can't flood this country with gang members. You can't flood this country with drugs that are coming out of Colombia through Venezuela with the cooperation of elements of your security forces. You can't turn Venezuela into the operating hub for Iran, for Russia, for Hezbollah, for China, for the Cuban intelligence agents that control that country. That cannot continue. Those things cannot continue to be in place. You cannot continue to have the largest oil reserves, in the world under the control of adversaries of the United States, not benefiting the people of Venezuela, and stolen by a handful of oligarchs around the world, including inside of Venezuela, but not benefiting the people of that country. We've seen how our adversaries all over the world are exploiting and extracting resources from Africa, from every other country. They're not going to do it in the Western Hemisphere. Yeah. They are not. That is not going to happen under President Trump. Read our national security strategy. He is serious about it, and he's going to do something about it, and we're doing something about it.
Let me ask you about oil. The president says the U.S. is taking over the oil. The question is, I guess, if the purpose of the operation was to capture Maduro and bring him to justice, why does the United States need to take over the Venezuelan oil industry?
Well, we don't need to. First of all, let me go back up. We don't need Venezuela's oil. We have plenty of oil in the United States. What we're not going to allow is for the oil industry in Venezuela to be controlled by adversaries of the United States. You have to understand, why does China need their oil? Why does Russia need their oil? Why does Iran need their oil? They're not even in this continent. This is the Western Hemisphere. This is where we live. And we're not going to allow the Western Hemisphere to be a base of operation for adversaries, competitors, and rivals of the United States.
Have specific oil companies?
We also want to see that oil and the proceeds from it. Hold on. We want to see the oil proceeds of that country benefit the people of Venezuela. Why have 8 million people left Venezuela? 8 million, the single largest mass migration probably in modern history, left Venezuela since 2014 because all the wealth of that country was stolen to the benefit of Maduro and his cronies in the regime, but not to the benefit of people of Venezuela. You know how destabilizing 8 million migrants is? The number one fear that Brazil has, that Colombia has, that all these countries in the region have about what's happening in Venezuela and our involvement is they're afraid of another mass migration event. That's what they fear. This is deeply destabilizing stuff. It's not going to continue to happen. They are not going to come from outside of our hemisphere, destabilize our region in our own backyard, and us have to pay the price for it. Not under President Trump.
Let's talk big picture here. U.S. regime change, historically speaking, has not gone very well for the United States. In Iraq, in Libya, to name a few examples. Can you assure Americans, the people of the United States, that this time will be different?
Well, here's what's happened. We've got this phobia built up and this sort of thing that's it's like, number one, most of the experts that people have on television, I watch these experts and it's clown hour. Okay, these are people that have focused their entire career on the Middle East or some other part of the world because that's where all the action was. Very few of them know anything about Venezuela or the Western Hemisphere. Venezuela looks nothing like Libya. It looks nothing like Iraq. It looks nothing like Afghanistan. It looks nothing like the Middle East other than the Iranian agents that are running through there plotting against America. Okay, these are Western countries with long traditions among their at a people to people and cultural level and ties to the United States. So there's nothing like that. So I think people need to stop ascribing the apples and oranges here, the apples of the Middle East to the oranges of the Western Hemisphere.
But do you?
Number two, this is about the national interest of the United States. And what I'm confident of is we are in a safer and better place because we're taking it seriously. The alternative would have been to leave Maduro there as an indicted the drug trafficker, illegitimate president, running the country, open invitation for all of our adversaries to do whatever they want against the United States from Venezuela. That was not going to continue. The alternative would have been to allow a drug trafficker to continue to use national territory and elements of nation-state power to further drug trafficking organizations. Read the indictment. This guy used the levers of their security apparatus not to arrest drug traffickers, but to cooperate and facilitate the trafficking of drugs for the purpose of getting them into the United States. And that's going to stop.
And yet, Mr. Secretary, a month ago, President Trump pardoned the former president of Honduras, who was just starting a 45-year sentence for trafficking more than 500 tons of cocaine. Does that not undercut the administration's stated goal, as you just said, to go after these narco-terrorists?
Number one, the former president of Honduras. So this is not someone who was in power, had any influence with the politics of Honduras any longer. Number two, I don't do the pardon file. I'm not against it or for it. I just didn't review the file. So I can't speak to you about the dynamics that led the president to make the decision that he made. I think he talked about it yesterday at the press conference. He reviewed the file. He went through the arguments in it, and he felt that the former president of Honduras was treated very unfairly by the previous administration and made the decision that he made. But I think the answer, whether you agree with that decision or not, people can disagree. I mean, there's people out there who make a living out of disagreeing with anything President Trump does. That doesn't mean you leave Maduro in place. That doesn't mean you don't go after Maduro. That's not the answer. I see people saying that. It's like, well, you know, how can you go after Maduro if you didn't do this? That's absurd. The answer to that, whether you have a problem with it or not, is not to leave in place someone who's been indicted, who hasn't even faced American justice yet, but now will.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I was referencing, obviously, the former president. White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles told Vanity Fair that an attack on Venezuela's mainland would require approval from Congress. Why didn't that happen, and will it happen with any future action the administration plans to take in Venezuela or elsewhere?
This was not an action that this was not an action that required congressional approval. In fact, it couldn't require congressional approval because this was not an invasion. This is not an extended military operation. This was a very precise operation that involved a couple of hours of action. It was a very delicate operation, too. It was one that required all these conditions to be in place at the right time in the right place. You couldn't afford leaks. We couldn't afford anything out there that would have endangered the mission and gotten people killed or killed off the mission and the optionality. We didn't even know if the mission was going to happen. How can you notify something you're not even sure if it can happen? Because in order for it to happen, you needed to have weather conditions in place. He needed to be at the right place at the right time. We needed to have forces prepared to go. There were a lot of factors in place. It was a trigger-based operation.
But
you can't notify that, number one, because you don't even know what's going to happen, if those conditions will ever align. And number two, you can't risk it being disclosed. But this was not an attack on Venezuela. This was a law enforcement function to capture an indicted drug trafficker. And of course, we needed the Department of War to support it, because they do have anti-aircraft missiles that could shoot down those helicopters.
But will you?
We had to take down radars. We had to take down those anti-air elements on the way in and on the way out. And that's what this was limited to.
But will you seek congressional approval for any further action in Venezuela or the region?
Well, we will seek congressional approval for actions that require congressional approval, but otherwise they will get congressional notification. And this is not an operation that required congressional approval. In fact, this is an operation akin to what virtually every single president for the last 40 years has conducted. The difference is that when it's Donald Trump, all these Democrats go bonkers.
Is the Cuban government the Trump administration's next target, Mr. Secretary? Very quickly.
Well, the Cuban government is a huge problem. Yeah, the Cuban government is a huge problem. First of all,
is that a yes?
Cuba, but I don't think people fully appreciate. I think they're in a lot of trouble. Yes, I'm not going to talk to you about what our future steps are going to be and our policies are going to be right now in this regard, but I don't think it's any mystery that we are not big fans of the Cuban regime, who, by the way, are the ones that were propping up Maduro. His entire internal security force, his internal security apparatus is entirely controlled by Cubans. One of the untold stories here is how, in essence, you talk about colonization, because I think you said Delcy Rodriguez mentioned that the ones who have sort of colonized, at least inside the regime, are Cubans. It was Cubans that guarded Maduro. He was not guarded by Venezuelan bodyguards. He had Cuban bodyguards.
Wow.
In terms of their internal intelligence, who spies on who inside to make sure there are no traitors, those are all Cubans.
All right. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, thank you for joining us after an incredibly busy 48 hours. Really appreciate it.
We thank you for watching. And remember.
All right. That is, let's go ahead on. That was, okay, now next. You know me, I have to go get all the little videos. Hold on a second. I got another one for y'all. I got another one for you guys. Hold on. Because you guys know, I told you I don't know anything about this. So I have to go with what others are saying about this in the news, in fact. Okay, this is what I just pull up, why did U.S. invade Venezuela? This is for those who, okay. Hold on a second.
Fallout continues after the Trump administration authorizes the U.S. military to conduct an operation in Venezuela to capture leader Nicolas Maduro and his wife. This is video of Maduro being escorted by federal agents after arriving in New York last night. Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us for Fox 5 News at 6. I'm Eric Perry. Well, since the strike, capture, and extradition to New York City, we've seen both condemnation and celebration. Politically, things are split down party lines. Top Republicans are praising the operation and the president's bold actions, while Democrats question the legal authority. Well, when it comes to the public, things are pretty similar. We have seen video of Venezuelans in South Florida out in droves celebrating.
I can't say how happy I am because I don't know any other government, only that it has been so many years suffering.
But we've also seen Americans questioning the legality of all of this. We caught up with protesters here in Atlanta who call the move a kidnapping.
We don't think it's within the power of the president to just go and kidnap foreign leaders.
Now we have more from this protest and another in support of Maduro's arrest. Fox 5's Annie Mapp is live in Midtown, and he's been following this story for us.
I'm confused. So why are they calling it a kidnap when the person is supposedly doing crooked stuff? I'm just trying to figure out, why is it called a kidnap? Normally, if somebody's a fugitive, you'll go get him whatever country they're in, right? So why is they calling them? Why is it a kidnap? Please, those who are against it, don't come at me because I'm just asking a question. I'm just asking a question, okay? Please don't come at me. I'm just asking a question. So I'm just trying to figure out why is it called a kidnapping when this person is supposed to be a fugitive, someone who's doing illegal things, and there was an indictment. So I'm just trying to figure out why is everybody in an uproar upset about it when if it's anybody else, they'll go after and get him. You know what I'm saying? I just asking a question. I'm just asking a question. Don't attack me, please. Those that's for it, please don't attack me. He was arrested by the FBI and read his rights. Okay. I just want to ask a question.
All weekend. We'll get to her in just a moment. But first, we want to take a look at what's next for Maduro and his wife, who are accused of turning Venezuela into a drug pipeline. Latinos correspondent CB Cotton has more.
After being processed at a federal facility in New York City, ousted Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro remains behind bars at a Brooklyn detention center. He's expected to be arraigned Monday afternoon on narco-terrorism and other drug and weapons charges.
The United States government has traced various accounts in foreign banks, and they've always alleged that Maduro is at the head of a drug cartel that's pouring drugs into the country.
Maduro is charged alongside his wife, Celia Flores, his son, and 3 others. The unsealed indictment accuses them of partnering with violent gangs and drug cartels to help flood the U.S. with, quote, thousands of tons of cocaine. Prosecutors say Maduro used the drug smuggling scheme to line the pockets of his family and top allies.
When a group of foreigners are engaged in an activity that's directed against the United States, that can both be, at the same time, illegal activity that subjects them to our legal process, but also it can be a national security threat.
The Trump administration says intelligence members spent months tracking Maduro's movements down to what he ate and what he wore before special forces captured him. But across the country, some people protested the decision to carry out the surprise raid.
We're here to say not in our name, not in the name of American working people. We do not want another war.
This case builds upon the one brought against Maduro back in 2020. At that time, he denied all the charges. In Brooklyn, New York, CB Cotton, Fox News.
All right, CB Cotton, thanks so much. Turning back to local reactions, Annie Mapp is live in Midtown. And Annie, you talked with people who came both in support and against the president's actions.
Eric, we saw 2 rallies in the city today. One this morning held by Venezuelans living in the Atlanta area on the Beltline who are celebrating Maduro's capture, and another one here in Midtown this afternoon from groups who feel President Donald Trump is breaking international law. Now, both groups held these rallies in response to President Donald Trump announcing what he calls a successfully carried out large-scale strike against Venezuela. That operation included explosions that rocked the country's capital of Caracas. Online videos showed plumes of smoke that Venezuelans living in Atlanta share left their loved ones back home seeking cover. However, they gathered to celebrate President Trump's actions, as many describe Maduro as a dictator and believe his arrest is a step towards freedom. At the same time, groups protested the president's actions as they say under international law, the U.S. doesn't hold the power to capture the working head of state of any country.
Venezuela is a wonderful country, and we have dealt with a lot for 26 years, and so I think we deserve having freedom.
And that I don't think that Donald Trump has the best interests in the people of Venezuela, and I think that it sets a dangerous precedent.
And Eric, President Donald Trump has said the U.S. will run Venezuela. However, he has not said for how long. Reporting live in Midtown, Annie Mapp, Fox 5 News.
Yeah, both sides have strong reactions. Annie Mapp, thanks so much. A live look at Hartsfield-Jackson International on this Sunday. Some good news for travelers stuck in Venezuela. Hometown carrier Delta has resumed service to and from the Caribbean. Delta has also issued a travel waiver for customers who are traveling to or from 13 impacted airports until January 6th. Well, American Airlines is stepping up to help as well. They also added nearly 5,000 additional seats to and from the region. That includes adding multiple extra flights and employing larger aircraft where possible. Make sure to stick with Fox 5 as the story continues to develop there. You can stick with us on air or online, fox5atlanta.com, or download the Fox Local app.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead on and bring up the indictment, since we went and looked at so many little videos on what's happening. What about the innocent American Maduro was locking up in prison as bargaining chip? Thank you, Tank. I think you need to come up because you could give us some 411 on this, because Sylvia don't know anything about this. So now he's going to run Venezuela here in U.S. People losing health benefits and income. Okay. All right, y'all. It's great for you guys to have debates. Please be respectful to one another. Everybody has their opinion. Sylvia doesn't have any opinion on this because I don't know much about this. And I am just, just being in the middle, trying to have some peaceful dialogue in regard to this. Okay. So let's go ahead on and pull up the indictment and see what the indictment says. Okay. Let's see what, Panama, Guatemala, Haiti, Osama bin Laden, none of these had Senate approval. You know what? You're right, Jay Bennett. You are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. When those things happen, you absolutely. We found out after it happened. You're right. You're absolutely right on that one, Jay Bennett. I don't normally agree with you, but I agree with you on that one. We didn't have the congressional approval, so that is definitely true on that one. So this is very, very interesting how there's two sides and everybody's is it people upset because it's Trump that's doing this? Is it that's why people are upset, because it's Trump and you just don't like Trump and whatever he does, you're not going to approve? Is that the situation here? Because it has happened in the past, and I didn't hear all of this fighting about it, I just want to know, is it because it's Trump doing it, or is it because you guys got legit reason, but you are disagreeing with this? Because remember, when Osama bin Laden was captured, we didn't find out until afterwards. Remember that? When it was already done. And everybody was like, woo, praising it, right? So is it because Trump is doing this that everybody's in an uproar, or is it because he said we won? Okay, Kim. Kim said because we won. All right, Kim. All right, let's go ahead on and look at the indictment. We wasn't in social media either. Did you have? I pull it up. I have the indictment. I have the indictment, Dom. Hold on a second. Let's pull it up. All right, you ready? Here's the indictment. Can you guys see this? Okay, this is the indictment, guys. And this is what it says. And don't be trying to dog me out in my reading, okay? I'm not going to try to figure out all these people's names, okay? Y'all know this is the indictment, all these people, okay? His wife, his son, and him, okay? And somebody else. We're not going to chop up these people's names. And here's the grand jury charge. It says introduction. For over 25 years, the leader of Venezuela have abused their position of public trust and corrupt one's legitimate institution to import tons of cocaine into the United States. Nicolas Maduro, Moraso, whatever how you say his name, the defendant, Morosa, I don't know how to say, okay. The defendant is at the forefront of the corruption and has partnered with his co-conspirators to use his illegal obtained authority and the institution to corroded to transport thousands of tons of cocaine to the United States. Since his early days, the Venezuelan government, MM, has tarnished every public office he has held. As a member of Venezuela National Assembly, MM moved loads of cocaine under the protection of Venezuelan law enforcement. As Venezuelan Minister of Foreign Affairs, MM provided Venezuelan diplomatic passport to drug traffickers and facilitated diplomatic cover for planes used by money laundering and drug proceeds from Mexico to Venezuela. As Venezuela's president and now de facto ruler, MM allowed cocaine-fueled corruption to flourish for his own benefit, for the benefit of members of his ruling regime, and for the benefit of his family members. Nicolas Maduro M., the defendant, now sits atop of corruption, illegitimate government that for decades has leveraged government power to protect and promote illegal activity, including drug trafficking. That drug trafficking has enriched the entrenched Venezuela's political and military elite, including Minister of the Interior, Justice and Peace. Oh my God, I cannot say this name. DSR, the defendant and former Minister of the Interior and Justice Roman Rodriguez Chancin, the defendant, that massive scale drug trafficking has also concentrated power and wealth in the hands of MM's family, including his wife, the purported First Lady of Venezuela, Cecilia Adelia Flores de Maduro. The defendant and Maduro M. Moros' son, member of the Venezuela's National Assembly, Nicolas I'm gonna just say initials, okay, y'all? I'm tired of trying to figure out these people's names. Ernesto Mirando. Oh Lord, I'm not doing this. The Prince, the defendant. This cycle of narcotic-based corruption lines the pocket of Venezuelan officials and their families, while also benefiting violent narcotic terrorists who operates in the impunity on Venezuela's soil and who help produce, protect, and transport tons of cocaine to the United States. Number 4, at various times since in or about 1999, that's a long time, y'all, 26 years, Venezuelan officials included NMM, or whatever all these names here, the defendants have partners with narco terrorists from the Frazera. Oh my God, y'all, these names, I can't do it. Okay, the defendant in some, MM and his co-conspirators have for decades partnered with some of the most violent and prolific drug traffickers and narco terrorists in the world, and relied on corrupt officials throughout the region and distribute tons of cocaine to the United States. Defendant MNM, the defendant, a Venezuelan citizen, was previously the president of Venezuela and is now having remained in power despite losses in recent election and de facto but illegitimate ruler of the country. MM also previously held a seat in the Venezuelan National Assembly between in or about 2006, acted as the Venezuelan Minister of Foreign Affairs between in in or about 2006 and in or about 2013, and acted as vice president of Venezuela in or about 2013. MM succeeded to the Venezuelan presidency after former President Hugo Chavez died in or about 2013, and during MM's own presidency continued to participate in cocaine trafficking with drug dealers and narco-terrorist group. In or about 2018, MM declared victory in a disputed and internationally condemned presidential election in Venezuela. In or about 2019, Venezuela's National Assembly invoked the Venezuela's constitution and declared that MM had usurped power and was not the legitimate president of Venezuela. Nonetheless, MM continued to exercise the power over the Venezuelan presidency, causing more than 50 countries, including the United States, to refuse to recognize MM as the Venezuelan head of state. In about 2024, Venezuela held another presidential election that was again widely criticized by the international community, in which MM declared himself the winner despite widespread condemnation. I don't know these names. The defendant of Venezuelan citizen is the Minister of Interior, Justice, and Peace, member of the Venezuelan Armed Force, and the Vice President of the ruling United States Socialist Party of Venezuela. CR is widely recognized as one of the most powerful officials in Venezuela. CR previously acted as chief of staff to Chavez in or about 2001, vice president of Venezuela in or about 2002. Governor of Venezuela, Miranda State, between in or about 2004 and in or about 2008, and the president of Venezuela National Assembly between in or about 2012 and in or about 2016, between in or about 2017 and in or about 2020. CR acted as a member and then president of Venezuela's National Constituent Assembly, following the illegitimate creation of the National Constituent Assembly, which ciphered the constitutional power of the Venezuela's National Assembly and further entrenched MM regime. Following the dissolution of the National Constituent Assembly in or about 2020, CR became a member of Venezuela's National Assembly between in or about 2021 and in or about 2024. Number 7, Roman Rodriguez Chansin, the defendant, is a Venezuelan politician and former member of the armed forces who served as the Minister of the Interior and Justice between in or about 2002 and 2008, between in or about 2012 and in or about 2017. Rodriguez Sanchin was the governor of Venezuela, Guaraco State. Number 8, Cecilia DF. I don't know how to say this lady's name. All right. The defendant is the de facto first lady of Venezuela, having married Nicolas Maduro Moros. The defendant in or about 2013, Flores de Maduro, has had the long-standing political career. Flores de Maduro has acted as the president of the National Assembly starting when Maduro Moros left that role to become Minister of Foreign Affairs. Between and about 2006 and in or about 2011 as the Attorney General of Venezuela, between in or about 2012 and in or about 2013 as a member of the National Constituent Assembly starting in or about 2017. Nicolas Ernesto Maduro, whatever his name is. Okay, thank you.
Better than what I thought.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. Dallas is talking to me. The defendant and the corrupt Venezuelan politician Maduro whatever, entered political politics after his father, Maduro Moraes, became the president of Venezuela in or about 2013. At that time, Maduro Moraes appointed these names, and is the head of Corps of Special Inspector of the Presidency, a position which was created by Maduro Guerrero. In or about 2017, Maduro, these names are tongue twisters for me. I'm sorry, but they tongue twisters. Entered Venezuela's National Constituent Assembly in or about January 2021. Maduro, I'm just going to do initials. MG entered Venezuela's National Assembly, where he continues to hold office. Hector Rustenford G.F., aka Nino G., the defendant has for over a decade served as either the leader or co-leader of TDA, during which time TDA members and associates have engaged in a wide range of crime, including extortion, kidnapping, murdering, drug trafficking, gun trafficking, prostitution, sex trafficking, robberies, bank burglaries, and money laundering in Venezuela, the United States, and elsewhere. The narco terrorist organization working in partnership with the defendants. The FARC, since its founding in 1964, has become one of the largest producers of cocaine in the world. The FARC has generated significant revenue through its cocaine trafficking, which is used to fund its operation, including, for example, large-scale weapon purchases and terrorist attacks. The FARC has also directed violent acts against United States persons and properties in foreign jurisdiction, including but not limited to Colombia. For example, from at least in or about 2003 to in or about 2008, FARC leadership ordered FARC members to kidnap and murder United States citizens and to attack United States interests in order to dissuade the United States from continuing its efforts to fumigate and disrupt the FARC manufacturing and distribution of cocaine and cocaine paste. Consistent with these activities, in or about 1997, the United States Department of State Department designated the FARC as a foreign terrorist organization, FTO. Pursuant to Section 219 of the Immigration and Nationality Act, INA, on November 30th, 2021, the State Department removed the FARC from the FTO list and stimulously designated two FARC successors organizations as FTOs pursuant to Section 219 of the INA. The FARC-EP and Segundo, Marco, both in which remain as designated as of the filing of the superseding indictment. 12. The ELN has operated as Colombian terrorist group since 1965, dedicated to violent overthrow of the democratically elected government of Colombia. In furtherance of its anti-government agenda, the ELN has committed kidnapping, bombing, and other violent attacks targeting civilians and Colombian law enforcement. In addition, the ELN exports tons of cocaine annually to the United States and elsewhere in order to finance its terrorist activity, and has at various times partnered with other Colombian guerrilla group to pursue of its cocaine trafficking. The violent agenda consistent with these activities in or about 1997, the State Department designated the ELN as an FTO pursuant to Section 219 of the INA. ELN remains as designated as of the filing of the superseding indictment. 13, the Sinaloa cartel, based in the Mexican state of Sinaloa, has its root in the late 1980s, when the so-called Mexican Federation functioned as a council with representatives from the respective drug trafficking organization of its principal leaders. During the late 1980s and the 1990s, the members of the Mexican Federal partnered with Colombia sources to transport drug through Mexico and into the United States. In the early 2000s, Jack Quinn, I don't know how to say that man, Guzman, aka El Chapo, and Ishmael Zambanda Garcia, aka El Mayo, formed a partnership that led to transformation of the Mexican Federation into Sinaloa cartel, which became the largest drug trafficking organization in the world. At the present, the Sinaloa cartel is highly organized and active in more than half of all states in Mexico. Though a sophisticated and heavily armed security apparatus, the Sinaloa cartel wield power through fear, threats, and violence, including by killing police, civilian, and members of other criminal groups who encroach on their territory without authorization. Members of the Sinaloa cartel may also be killed for perceived disloyalty and disobedience, as to send a message. To further and protect its drug interests, the Sinaloa cartel engaged in other criminal conduct, including bribery, extortion, and weapon trafficking. As an additional means of revenue and profit, the Sinaloa cartel engages in migrant smuggling and human trafficking. Consistent with these activities, in or about February 2025, the State Department designated the Sinaloa cartel as an FTO pursuant to Section 219 of the INA. The Sinaloa cartel remains so designated as of the filing of this superseding indictment. 14. The Zeta, later known as the Cartel de Noreste, CDN, is a violent and prolific transnational drug organization based in the northeastern Mexico, involved in drug trafficking, kidnapping, extortion, human smuggling, and other illicit activity. The junta used violence to exert criminal control, including attack against government officials in Mexico. Between in or about 2000 and in or about 2010, the Zeta formed an alliance with the Gulf Cartel, a group of drug trafficking primarily based in the northern Mexico, whereby the Zeta served as the armed militaristic wing of the Gulf Cartel to maintain control of drug trafficking routes throughout Mexico. The Zeta recruited members of the Mexican Special Forces along with drug traffickers who never served in the military or with a police force to join the organization. In or about the summer of 2010, the Zeta and the Gulf Cartel alliance fractured after a period of intense violence between the imported ton quantity of cocaine to the United States. Consistent with these activities, in or about February 2025, the State Department designated CDN, formerly known as a Zeta, as an FTO pursuant to Section 219 of the INA. CDN, referred to as the Zeta, is in this superseding indictment remains so designated as of the filing of this superseding indictment. Number 15, TDA is a violent transnational criminal organization that originated as a prison gang in Venezuela. TDA has expanded its criminal network throughout the Western Hemisphere and established a presence in the United States, including New York. TDA's criminal activity included human smuggling and other illicit acts. TDA has developed additional revenue sources through a range of criminal activities, including drug trafficking, firearm trafficking, commercial sex trafficking, kidnapping, robbery, theft, fraud, and extortion. TDA members also committed murder, assault, and other acts of violence to enforce and further the organization's criminal activity. TDA has formed ties with other criminal groups operating in the Western Hemisphere and at times is willing to cooperate with other criminal groups and organizations on a local and ad hoc basis. Consistent with these activities, in or about February 2025, the State Department designated TDA as an TFO pursuant to Section 219 in the INA. TDA remains as designated as of the filing of this superseding indictment. The defendants corrupt drug trafficking and connection to narco terrorist group. NMM, the defendant, like former President Chavez, beforehand participated in, perpetrated, and protect a culture of corruption in which powerful Venezuelan elite enriched themselves through drug trafficking and the protection of their partner drug traffickers. The profit of the illegal activities flow to corrupt ranks and civilian, military, and intelligence officials who operate in a patronage system run by those at the top, referred to as the Cartel de los Solos or Cartel of the Suns, a reference to the sun insignia affixed to the uniform of high-rank Venezuelan military officials. 17. Venezuela sits in the geographical value location for drug traffickers with northern access to the Caribbean Sea via several large ports and western access to the mountainous region of Colombia, where cacao is grown and turned into vast majority of the world's cocaine supply in jungle laboratory. Starting in or about 1999, Venezuela became a safe haven for drug traffickers willing to pay for protection and support corrupt Venezuelan civilians and military officials who operate outside the reach of Colombia. Law enforcement and armed forces bolstered by the United States anti-narcotics assistance. Number 18. In that environment, cocaine trafficking flourished. Venezuelan officials and their family members, including NMM, DCR, RRC, CAFDM, and Ernesto MG, aka Nocalisto, aka the Prince, and the defendant partnered with narcotic traffickers and narco terrorist group who dispatched processed cocaine from Venezuela to the United States via transshipment points in the Caribbean and Central America, such as Honduras, Guatemala, and Mexico. By in or about 2020, the State Department estimated that between 200 and 250 tons of cocaine were trafficked through Venezuela annually. Wow. The maritime shipment were shipped northern from Venezuela coastline using a fast go vessel, fishing boat, and container ships. Air shipment were often dispatched and quarantine airstrips, typically made of dirt or grass, and also forms of commercial airports under the control of corrupt government and military officials. 19. Through this drug trafficking, NMM, the defendant, and corrupt members of his regime enabled corruption fueled by drug traffickers throughout the region. The transshipment points in Honduras, Guatemala, and Mexico simply rely on a culture of corruption in which cocaine traffickers are operating in those countries paid a portion of their own profit to politicians who protected and aided them. In turn, these politicians used the cocaine fuel payment to maintain and augment their political power. So, too, the word politician along the Caribbean route, corrupt by cocaine trafficker who would pay them for protection from arrest and to allow favorable traffickers to operate with impunity as they traffic cocaine from Venezuela north towards the United States. Thus, as at every step, relying on producers in Colombia, transporters and distributors in Venezuela, and recipients and redistributors on transshipment point north, the traffickers enriched themselves and their corrupt benefactors who protected and aided them. 20. Similarly, NMM, DCR, RRC, the defendants, and other corrupt members of the regime facilitated the empowerment and growth of the violent narco terrorist group, fueling their organization with cocaine profit. These narco-terrorist organizations not only work directly with and send profit to high-ranking Venezuelan officials, but also reap the benefits of increasing value of that cocaine as such transshipment point along the way to the United States, where demands and thus the price of cocaine is highest. Those organizations include the FARC and ELN, which control cocaine production in the Monteros region of Colombia. The Sinaloa cartel and Zeta, which control routes in Central America and the method of crossing cocaine from Mexico to the United States, and the TDA, which control a criminal network able to assist with the transportation of cocaine within Venezuela and on Venezuela coast. Avert Act in furtherance of defendants' drug trafficking and narco-terrorist conspiracy. The defendants, together with others, engaged in the relentless campaign of cocaine trafficking throughout the time period charged in this superseding indictment, resulting in the distribution of thousands of tons of cocaine to the United States. Throughout, the NMM, the defendant, along with members of his family and other corrupt officials, provided law enforcement cover and logistics support for the transport of cocaine through Venezuela, with knowledge that their drug trafficking partners would move the cocaine north to the United States. While this conduct occurred regularly and repeatedly throughout the time period charged, below are certain examples of acts engaged in by the defendants in furtherance of their drug trafficking, including a partnership with narco-terrorist group. Now, between approximately 2006 and 2008, while acting as Venezuela's Minister of Foreign Affairs, MM sold Venezuela's diplomatic passport to individuals that MM knew were drug traffickers in order to assist trafficking seeking to move drug proceeds from Mexico to Venezuela under diplomatic cover. Then the drug traffickers needed to move the drug proceeds from Mexico back to Venezuela. MM facilitated the movement of private planes under diplomatic cover to ensure the flight received no scrutiny from law enforcement or the military. On these occasions, MM called the Venezuelan embassy in Mexico to advise that a diplomatic mission would be arriving by private plane. Then, while the traffickers met with the Venezuelan ambassador of Mexico under the auspices of the diplomatic mission from MM, their plane was loaded with drugs proceeds. The plane would then return to Venezuela under diplomatic cover. B. Approximately 2007, CAFDM, the defendant, attended a meeting in which FDM accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribe to broker a meeting between a large scale of drug traffickers and the director of Venezuela National Anti-Drug Office. In Arturo's, the drug trafficker later arranged to pay a monthly bribe to Toros, in addition to approximately $100,000 for each flight that was transporting cocaine to ensure the flight's safe passage, a portion of which was then paid to FDM. In or about 2015, RT was charged with narcotics offenses in the Eastern District of New York and is a fugitive. C. In or about 2003 and in or about 2011, while DCR, the defendant, occupied various official positions in Venezuela, the Zeta worked with a group of Colombian drug traffickers to dispatch cargo containers on container ships carrying 5 to 6 tons of cocaine each, and sometimes as much as 20 tons each, from ports in Venezuela to ports in Mexico, and ultimately to the United States. Okay, where's the person that's getting it in the United States? I don't see them mentioning them. Okay, let me keep reading. The tens of thousands of kilos of cocaine sent by this group were protected by the Venezuela and Venezuelan military official referred to as generals. D. Between in or about 2004, in or about 2015, MM and FDM worked together to traffic cocaine, much of which has been previously seized by Venezuelan law enforcement, which with the assistance of the armed military escort. During this time, MM and FDM maintained their own group of state-sponsored gang known as the Colectivo to facilitate and protect their drug trafficking operation. MM and FDM also ordered kidnapping, beatings, and murders against those who owed them drug money and otherwise undermined their drug trafficking operation, including ordering the murder of a local drug boss in Caracas, Venezuela. E. In or about 2006, Venezuelan officials dispatched more than 5.5 tons of cocaine from Venezuela to Mexico on a DC-9 jet. CR, then director of Venezuela Military Intelligence Agency, Hugo A.C.B., aka El Pollo, who in June 2025 pled guilty to in this district to narco terrorism, and narcotics and weapon offenses in the first superseding indictment in this case, S111CR205 AKH, and Venezuela National Guard Captain VKV Ramirez worked with other members of the Venezuela regime to coordinate the shipment. The more than 5.5 tons of cocaine were transported in approximately 5 vans of the hangar reserved for the Venezuela president at Simon Bolivar International Airport in Venezuela. At the airport, members of the Venezuelan National Guard loaded the cocaine onto the plane, which took off using a flight plan that V. Ramirez approved in exchange for bribe. Despite the payment of those bribes, when the plane landed in Sitio, whatever the airport is in Mexico, authorities seized more than 5.5 tons of cocaine. Shortly after the seizure, V. Ramirez told the Venezuela drug traffickers who worked with him that they needed to pay CR a bribe to ensure that those who had assisted them in the airport would not be arrested. VR then arranged a meeting with CR, after which the traffickers paid approximately $2,500,000, right? 2.5 million to CR through his family members. In or about 2013, VR was charged with narcotics offenses in the Eastern District of New York and is a fugitive. F. Between approximately 2006 and 2008, HRGF, aka Nino, the defendant, worked with one of the largest drug trafficker in Venezuela. Walid M. Members of the Venezuelan regime helped protect cocaine shipment that were transported from San Fernando de whatever place that is in Venezuela to Valencia, Venezuela, and were then sent by plane from the Valencia International Airport to Mexico and other locations in the Central America for eventually distribution to the United States. In or about 2008 and in or about 2009, GF also provided another major Venezuelan drug trafficker with protection for cocaine shipment moving from Venezuela, including by providing armed men who carried, among other automatic weapons, AK-47s, MP5s, and AR-15s, as well as grenades. At times, GR personally accompanied large cocaine loaded as they were guarded by the team of armed men en route to airports and airstrips for transport north and eventually distribution to the United States. GF was paid a fee per kilo of cocaine transported or received, and he sometime received an interest in portion of these massive cocaine shipment in lieu of payment. The traffickers that GF worked with moved thousands of kilograms per shipment multiple times per month, resulting in the distribution of hundreds of tons of cocaine to the United States. In or about 2009, M was charged with narcotic offense in this district and is a fugitive. Letter G. In or about 2008, RRC, the defendant, maintained a large estate in Barinas State, Venezuela, which contained a large FARC encampment and training school with approximately 200 armed FARC members carrying automatic rifles at any given time. During this time, RC accepted tens of thousands of dollars in bribes to use his corrupt influence to shield a large-scale drug traffickers from arrest and extradition. During subsequent meetings with the drug traffickers between in or about 2008, in or about 2010, RC discussed the trafficking multi-ton quantities of cocaine with other Venezuelan officials, including CB. H. In or about 2011, the Simulio cartel, then leader Jean-Claude G. L., aka El Chapo, financed cocaine laboratory in Colombia. Colombia produced in those laboratory was then transported under the protection of the FARC into Venezuela and Moors and CR. In or about September 2013, mere months after MM succeeded in the Venezuela presidency, Venezuelan official dispatches approximately 1.3 tons of cocaine on commercial flights from the M airport to Paris Charles de Gaulle airport, the one in France. French authorities seized the cocaine. Following the seizures, MM conveyed a meeting with, among others, CR and CB. During the meeting, MM told CR and CB that they would not have used the Marquette Airport for drug trafficking after 2006. Seizure in Mexico, and that they should instead use other well-established drug route and location to dispatch cocaine. Shortly thereafter, MM and others authorized the arrest of certain Venezuelan military officials in an effort to divert public and law enforcement scrutiny away from MM. CR and CB participation in the shipment in its cover-up. J. Between approximately 2014 and 2015, a captain of the Venezuelan National Guard on Margarita Island, Venezuela, coordinated hotel transportation, women, and food for visitors by Venezuelan officials, including NEMG, aka Nicolisto, aka the Prince, a defendant who visited Margarita Island approximately twice monthly. MG would arrive on a Falcon 900 plane owned by Venezuela's state oil company. Petroles de Venezuela S.A. PDVSA. Before leaving the island, MG PDVSA plane would be loaded sometime with the assistance of armed sergeant with large packages wrapped in tape with the captain understood were drugs. MG was present while the PDVSA plane was loaded and on one occasion stated that the plane could go wherever it wanted, including the United States. K. Between in or about October 2015 and in or about November 2015, Efren Campo Flores and Franquez San Francisco Flores de Fortios, two relatives of MM and FDM, agreed during recorded meeting with the DEA confidential sources to dispatch multiple 100-kilo cocaine shipment from MM presidential hangar at the Marquita airport. During recorded meeting with the sources, Campo Flores and Flores de Fritos explained that they were at war with the United States, described the Cartel de los Solos, discussed a connection to a commander for the FARC who was supposedly high-ranked and indicated that they were seeking to raise $20 million in drug proceeds to support a campaign by Flores de Maduro in connection with the late 2015 election of the Venezuelan National Assembly. Campos Flores referred to Menendez Morris as his father and stated that what we want is for him to take control again of the National Assembly. In or about November 2016, Campo Flores and Flores de Fritas were convicted on trial in the District of conspiring and import cocaine into the United States. Number one, in or about 2017, MG worked to ship hundreds of kilos of cocaine from Venezuela to Miami, Florida. During this time, MG spoke with his drug trafficking partner, among other things, shipping low-quality cocaine to New York because it could not be sold in Miami, arranging a 500-kilogram shipment of cocaine to be loaded from a cargo container near Miami and using scrap metal container to smuggle cocaine into the port of New York. In or about 2018 and 2019, Rodriguez Sanchin made multiple trips from Barinas, state of Caracas, with a key FARC leader for meeting with MM. These trips were part of a long history of RC's regular meeting with FARC and ELN members in both their jungle encampment and Baranas, because RC was assigned by MM to provide the FARC and ELN with protection and support. RC also brought FARC leaders to meet MM in Miraflores, the presidential palace in Caracas, as well as the Frontentinua, the chief military complex in Caracas and headquarters of Venezuela's Ministry of Defense. And in or about July 2019, shortly after FARC leader had publicly returned to arms despite the signing of recent peace accord with the Colombian government, MM and CR attended a videotape press conference at which MM announced that FARC and its leader were welcome in Venezuela. Oh, in or about 2019, TDA's leader, GF, discussed drug trafficking with an individual he understood to be working with the Venezuelan regime. Over multiple calls, GF offered to provide escort services for drug loads, explaining that GF and TDA had control of the coastline of Venezuela's Aragón state. GF, speaking with TDA base of operation in Tocaron prison, explained that TDA could handle the logistic of every aspect of the drug trade, including the use of storage compartment that GF called cradles, located on the beach of Aragona State. In doing so, GF confirmed TDA's ability to protect over 1 ton of cocaine. In or about 2024, MG attended a meeting in Medellin, Colombia, with 2 representatives of the FARC. During the meeting, MG discussed arrangement to move the large quantity of cocaine and weapons through Colombia and into the United States over the course of 6 years until in or about 2026. MG also discussed paying the FARC with weapons in connection with the cocaine loads. In or about 2007, at the direction of CB, Venezuelan General Cliver A.C., I don't know how to say his name, delivered to FARC leadership 4 crates of weapons from Venezuelan government, which included 20 grenades and 2 grenade launchers. In or about June 2023, AC pled guilty in this district to conspiring to provide material support to the FARC and FTO, pursuant to the 3rd superseding information in this case, SC 11CR 205 AKH. Between in or about 2022 in or about 2024, CR regularly traveled to clandestine airstrips controlled by the ELN near the Colombia-Venezuela border to ensure the cocaine's continued safe passage in Venezuelan territory. From these airstrips, cocaine was dispatched out of Venezuela both on flights approved by Venezuelan military officials and clandestine flight designed to avoid detection by law enforcement or militaries in the South and Central America. In or about the end of 2024, CR received narcotic proceedings from the cocaine trafficking. And in or about 2025, Colombian drug traffickers discussed with the associate of CR's plan to continue cocaine trafficking through Venezuela. Statutory allegation count 1, narcotic terrorism conspiracy. 22, paragraph 1 through 21 of this superseding indictment are realleged and incorporated by reference as through full set herein. 23, from at least in or about 1999 up to and including in or about 2025 in the offense begun and committed out of the jurisdiction of the particular state or district of United States, NMM, DCR, and RRC, the defendants and other known and unknown, at least one of whom has been and will be first brought to and arrested in the Southern District of New York, intentionally and knowingly combined, conspired, confederated, and agreed together and with each other to violate Title 21 United States Code Section 960A. 24. It was a part and an object of the conspiracy that NMM, DCR, and RRC, the defendants, and other known and unknown, would and did engage in conduct that would be punishable under Title 21 United States Code Section 841A if committed within the jurisdiction of the United States, to wit, the distribution of and possession with the intent to distribute 5 kilos and more of mixture and substance containing a detectable amount of cocaine, knowing and intending to provide directly and indirectly something in pecuniary value to a person and organization that has engaged and engages in terrorism and terrorist activity as defined in Title 8 United States Code Section 1182A-2B, or terrorism as defined in Title 22 United States Code Section 2656F D2. To wit, the following organization has been designated by the United States Secretary of State as FTOs pursuant to Section 219 of the INA during time relevant to this superseding indictment. FARC-EP Segunda Maquetalia ELN TDA, the Sinaloa Cartel CDN, and also known as the Zeta, and each organization members, operatives, and associates having knowledge that such organization and person have engaged in terroristic activity and terrorism in violation of Title 21 United States Code Section 960A, Title 21 United States Code Section 96A, and Title 18 United States Code Section 3238. Count 2, cocaine importation conspiracy. The grand jury further charges, Sec 25, paragraph 1 through 21 in this superseding indictment are realleged and incorporated by reference as through fully set forth herein. 26, from at least in or about 1999 up to and including in or about 2025 in an offense begun and committed out of the jurisdiction of any particular state or district of the United States, NMN, DCR, RRC, CAFDM, NEMG, aka Nicolisto, aka the Prince, and HRG F, aka Nino, the defendants and other known and unknown, at least one of whom has been and will be first brought to and arrested in the Southern District of New York. Intentionally and knowingly combined, conspired, confederated, and agreed together and with each other to violate provision of Title 21 United States Code, Chapter 13, Subchapter 2. 27. It was part and an object of the conspiracy that NMN, DCR, RRC, CAF, DM, NMG, HRG, F, the defendants and other known and unknown would and did knowingly and intentionally import into the United States from places outside thereof and controlled substance in the violation of Title 21 United States Code Section 952A and 960A1. 21 as further part and an object of conspiracy, all those names that I mentioned before. We're going to go all the way down. Known and unknown would and did manufacture, distribute, and possess with intent to distribute a controlled substance, intending, knowing and have reasonably cause to believe that such substance would be unlawful imported into the United States into waters within the distance of 12 miles of the coast of the United States in violation of Title 21 United States Code Section 959A and 960A3. 29. It was further as part of the object of the conspiracy. Now all those names again. We're gonna go defendant and unknown and known and unknown would and did on board an aircraft registered to the United States, manufacture, distribute, and possesses it with intent to distribute controlled substance in violation of Title 21 United States Code Section 595C and 960A3. 30. Same people again. The controlled substance of all those folks again. The defendants conspired to one, import into the United States, into custom territory of the United States from a place outside thereof. 2, manufacture and distribute, intending, knowing, and having reasonable cause to believe that such substance would be unlawful imported into the United States into the water within distance of 12 miles of the coast of the United States from a place outside thereof. 3, manufacture, distribute, and possess on board an aircraft registered to the United States was 5 kilos and more of mixture and substance containing detectable amount of cocaine in violation of Title 21 United States Code Section 960B1B, Title 21 United States Code Section 963, and Title 18 United States Code Section 328. Count 3, possession of machine gun and destructive device. The grand jury further charges, paragraph 1 through 21, in this superseding indictment are realleged and incorporated by the reference as though fully set forth herein. 32. From at least in or about 1999 up to including in or about 2025, in an offense begun and committed out of the jurisdiction in particular state or district of United States for which at least one or two or more joint offenders has been and will be first brought to and arrested in the Southern District of New York. You got all those names again, y'all. All right, we're gonna keep going down with the names. Indicted we got those people. The controlled substance offense charge in count 2 of the superseded indictment knowingly used and carried firearms in the furtherance of such crime, knowingly possessed firearms and aided and abetted the use, carrying, the possession of firearm, to wit, machine guns that were capable of automatically shooting more than one shot without manual reload by a single function of the trigger, as well as destructive devices. Title 18 United States Code Section 924C1A, 924C1B2, 3238, and 2. Count 4, conspiracy to possess machine gun and destructive device again. All right, we got all of this. It's the same thing. Oh my God. All right, let's go down and see. Forfeiture, allegation. As a result of committing a controlled substance offense charges in count 1 of this superseding indictment, you got all the names again. United States Code Section 853 and 970, any and all properties constituting or derived from any proceedings the defendant obtained directly or indirectly as a result of the offenses, and any and all property used or intended to be used in a manner or part to commit or to facilitate the commission of the offenses charged in count 1 of this superseding indictment. 37, as a result of the controlled substance offenses charged in count 2 of this superseding indictment, you got all those names again. And it says the defendant shall forfeit to the United States pursuant to Title 21, United States Code Section 853 and 970, any and all properties constituting or derived from any proceeds the defendant obtained directly or indirectly as a result of the offenses, and in and all properties used or intended to be used in any manner or part to facilitate the commission of the offense charged in count 2 of this superseding indictment. As a result of the committing the firearm offenses charges in count 3 and 4 of the superseding indictment, got all the names again. And then it says the defendant shall forfeit the United States pursuant of Title 18 United States Code Section 924D all firearms, ammunition involved in or used in the commission of the offenses charged in count 3 and 4 of this superseding indictment. Substitute assets provision. If any of the above described forfeitable property as a result of the act or commission of, those people again. And here is what the defendants have. Cannot locate upon exercise due diligence. B, has been transferred or sold or deposit with a third person, has been placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court, has been substantially diminished in value, or has been commingled with other property which cannot be subdivided without difficulty. It is the intent of the United States pursuant to Title 21 United States Code Section 853P and Title 28 United States Code Section 2461C to seek forfeiture of any other property of the defendant up to the value of the forfeitable property. Title 18 United States Code Section 924, Title 21 United States Code 853 and 970, and Title 28 United States Code Section 241. So say the foreman, you can't see his name, J. Clayton, United States Attorney. And that is it, y'all. Oh my God, I'm so tired of reading this stuff. I know y'all left because y'all so tired of me reading that mess. I'm tired of eating that mess. But that was it, y'all. I know I bored the heck out of y'all. But on that note, I'm about to get off. Y'all know I can't read. Look, those names, I was like, I was not going to be butchering these people's name. I know me already. I was not going to butcher people's name up. Y'all welcome. All right. I got to get off because I have my little prayer group coming on at 9 o'clock and I don't want to be late. So I will see you guys later. That is it for me. You have to go to sleep. Go to sleep. Good sleep. No, I got to do my prayer group. Have a great night. Thanks. I'll see you guys in a few. 9 o'clock, guys. I'll see y'all in a minute. All right. Bye, everybody. That's it for me. Don't be asking me no more of this case now, because it was only 23 y'all in here. I'm not doing this no more. Because y'all know I don't like politics. But I got to go. Bye, y'all.
Thank you for watching the infamous Sylvia channel, where laughter and fun make up our panel. Together we build this digital spree. We appreciate you and our growing family. With minds by our side and chat flowing free in this online space. It's just you and me. We laugh until tears roll down like the rain. In this virtual world, you ease all my pains. We're a family, not just a show. Every click and comment makes us grow. Mods and chat, keeping the vibe so right. Together we shine like stars in the night. We cherish the moments, the highs and lows, from the latest gossip to stories untold. You're more than a viewer, you're part of the crew in this space of ours. It's all because of you. This digital world where emotion is shared, every post and reaction showing we care. The love is real in this virtual domain. With every sign and joys what we'll gain. We're a family, not just a show. Every click and comment makes us grow. Mods and chat, keeping the vibe so right. Together we shine like stars in the night. We're a family, not just a show. Every click and comment makes us grow. Mods and chat, keeping the vibe so right. Together we shine like stars in the night. This digital world where emotion is shared, every post and reaction showing we care. The love is real in this virtual domain. With every sign and joy is what we'll gain. We're a family, Every click and comment makes us grow. Mars in check, keeping the vibe so right. Together we shine like stars in the night.